Most parents believe their children are the most beautiful and remarkable creatures ever to grace the planet. Matilda's parents were different. Harry and Zinnia Wormwood were less than overjoyed when Matilda was born. After they brought her home from the hospital, they virtually ignored her. They had no idea how exceptional Matilda was. They didn't know she had learned to write her name when she was just a tiny baby. They didn't know she could cook.
Now look what you did.
And they didn't know that Matilda had taught herself to read. One day, Matilda discovered the most wonderful place in the world, the public library. She went there every day. Matilda had another talent. She could add really big numbers in her head. One day, at the dinner table, she surprised her family by solving a difficult math puzzle.
What was my profit for the day?
$10,265. Check it if you don't believe me.
But instead of being happy that Matilda was so clever, Harry was angry.
When a person is bad, that person has to be taught a lesson.
Harry meant to say, when a child is bad, they should be punished. But instead he said, when a person is bad. And with that one slip of the tongue, he gave Matilda the idea that children could punish their parents too. The next morning, Matilda slipped into her parents' room, took the peroxide Zinnia used to dye her hair blonde, and put it in Harry's hair tonic. When Harry looked in the mirror, he had a terrible shock.
What did you do to your hair?
That morning, Matilda and her brother Michael went with their father to Wormwood Motors, his used car lot. Harry bragged about tricking his customers into spending lots of money for broken-down old wrecks.
Daddy, that's cheating.
Matilda called Harry a crook, which made him very angry. He really told her off, but she punished him by putting superglue inside his hat. Zinnia won double bingo and took the family to celebrate at the Cafe Ritz. But when Zinnia tried to pull the hat off Harry's head, it ripped, and everything went flying. The other customers got splattered with food, but a delicious dessert landed magically in front of Matilda. That evening, like all evenings, the Wormwoods watched television. Irritated by Matilda's decision to read Moby Dick, Harry ripped her book to shreds. Then, when Harry forced Matilda to watch the television, magically, it blew up. The next day, Agatha Trunchbull, the principal of Cruncham Hall Elementary School, came to Wormwood Motors to buy a car. Harry was very impressed when Miss Trunchbull told him that her school was a model of discipline.
Use the rod, beat the child.
Matilda was thrilled when Harry told her she was finally going to school. But when she got to Cruncham Hall, she saw that Miss Trunchbull was a terrible bully. Miss Trunchbull even picked up one little girl by her pigtails and hurled her over the fence. But when Matilda met her teacher, Miss Honey, she knew at once that she had met a very wonderful person. Miss Honey could see that Matilda was very special too. As Matilda walked home from school that day, she noticed two men sitting in a car in front of the Wormwood house. They were FBI agents, investigating Harry's trade in stolen car parts. One evening, Miss Honey came to Matilda's house to talk to her parents about Matilda's extraordinary gifts. But Harry and Zinnia told Miss Honey that education was overrated and asked Miss Honey to leave.
A girl does not get anywhere by acting intelligent.
The next day, Miss Trunchbull discovered that Bruce Bogtrotter had stolen her chocolate cake. To punish him, she forced him to eat a giant cake in front of the entire school. But Bruce finished every bite. At home, Harry Wormwood told Zinnia that the police were watching his used car lot. Matilda told him that the men parked outside their house were FBI agents. As usual, Zinnia called her an ignoramus, and Harry called her a liar.
Those are speedboat salesmen.
When Miss Trunchbull's car broke down, she realized that Harry had cheated her, and so she decided to punish Matilda. She threw Matilda into the chokey, a tall, narrow cupboard lined with bits of broken glass and nails. In the classroom, after Miss Honey rescued Matilda from the chokey, Matilda saw the newt that her friend Lavender had put in Trunchbull's glass of water. She used her powers to tip the glass over. The newt landed on Miss Trunchbull, and she leapt around the room in terror. After Trunchbull had left the classroom, Matilda tried to tell Miss Honey she was responsible for making the water spill.
I did it with my eyes. Watch, I'll prove it to you.
To prove her magic power, Matilda unsuccessfully tried to make the glass move again. That afternoon, Miss Honey invited Matilda to her cottage for tea and cookies. As they walked past Miss Trunchbull's house, Miss Honey told Matilda a story of a little girl who used to live there with her father and her mean aunt. Matilda quickly realized that the little girl in the story was really Miss Honey. Miss Trunchbull was really Miss Honey's aunt.
Yes, Aunt Trunchbull.
Trunchbull had promised Miss Honey's father before he died that she would take care of Miss Honey. But she had been so cruel that Miss Honey had left the home and everything she loved behind, including a lovely doll that her mother had given her. Matilda broke into Miss Trunchbull's house to try and get Miss Honey's doll. And when Miss Trunchbull came home unexpectedly, Matilda barely escaped. Back at home, Matilda decided to develop her magical powers. She had such fun, she could easily make the cereal and the milk pour themselves into her breakfast bowl. With her newly developed powers, Matilda returned to Trunchbull's home and floated Miss Honey's doll and chocolates out of the window and into her hands. She then haunted Miss Trunchbull by making things fly all over the house. The next day, Matilda gave Miss Honey her doll and one of her chocolates. For the first time, Miss Honey realized that Matilda did indeed have magical powers. That morning, in the classroom, Matilda further terrorized Miss Trunchbull by writing a message on the blackboard from Miss Honey's dead father. Miss Trunchbull was defeated and was chased out of the school by flying erasers and taunting students, never to be seen again. With Miss Trunchbull gone, Miss Honey moved back into her real home. The FBI finally caught up with Harry, and the Wormwoods fled the country. But before they left town, they happily agreed to let Miss Honey adopt Matilda. Matilda and Miss Honey finally found what they had always been looking for: a happy home filled with love, laughter, And of course, books. And now, Matilda could read Moby Dick whenever she pleased.